Okay guys, day 2 here, and I left the clamps on actually overnight. So let's get these off and check out the stability here of the cabinet. Okay, you can see everything looks nice and clean here along the bottom piece and the side, and the front as well. So that turned out really good here. I'll go ahead and maybe instead of moving over to this side over here, I may go ahead and just work on putting this quarter round piece back in and decide if the piece that we have will work, or again, should I just go ahead and put a new piece in and route it out. Okay, this piece of quarter round fits back up in there nice and tight now, so I think I am going to reuse it. And the missing piece or sections right in here, I'm going to just build that up with wood filler, and I'll use a darker filler when I get toward the surface itself, and then I think I'll try my hand at my graining pen. It's been a while since I used it. I think last on the Chanticleer, and there's such small areas anyway. I think I can blend these existing grain lines in and tie this in once the toner lacquers are applied, versus spending the time of picking up a section of quarter round and messing around with it. So tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and get some glue here on this piece of quarter round and get it back in here and clamp it this direction back to front, and then this piece of delaminated plywood will tackle that after this piece sets up and dries, and I'll clamp it from underneath, and that'll get that piece out of the way. Okay, the areas I really want to build up with some glue again will be around this channel right here, in this area, and right through here. And again, I can apply some glue here as well on this piece, that when I slide it in, it will travel through the glue. So let me do that. Okay, you can see I got that piece of quarter round back in. Again, once I clamp it here, I'll make sure I've got nice contact here with that front substrate material. And I've got most of the glue inside cleaned up, just a little bit more right in this area right here to clean up. But let me clamp it, then I'll have a little bit more, I'm sure, push out. Okay, what I was doing here, I just wanted to be mindful of the piece, and again, not apply too much pressure, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure my clamp was down on the side piece, and everything was nice and flush here on the back side with the piece of quarter round, and of course nice and flush with the front as well. And things look good here inside, and you can see where I'll be able to hopefully yeah, I can work back in here. Again, I've already put glue back down in here where this piece of substrate was loose, and then again I'll be able to slide my thin plastic with some more of the hide glue right here in this area, and get this substrate on as well. I think I'll go ahead and do that now also. Let me just do a little cleanup here on the cabinet, and just get a little bit of this glue off here before it dries, neaten things up inside the cabinet, and double check myself outside. I'll go ahead and apply this glue off camera, and then come back and provide an update. Okay, I've got the glue down in here now between the delaminated plywood here and the top piece of substrate, and I'll probably have a little glue here bleed through once I do the clamping. So again, I'll be using my furring strip here just with some shipping tape on it, and we'll make sure that doesn't adhere, and I'll just use a small clamp here and clamp this down. Okay guys, one thing to be mindful of if you're out there clamping like this, I don't have any protection here. I didn't put any wax paper down on the butt end of the first strip, and I don't have shipping tape on that. So I actually had it way too close here to the front fascia of the cabinet itself. Had I left it that way, we would have probably had a mess here. I would have had to try to break it loose where the glue would have set up between the butt end of the first strip and the back side of the front side of the cabinet. So just keep that in mind. We'll let this set up now for a couple hours, then we'll move over here to this side. And I'll do all this off camera because it's going to be probably identical to what I did over here on this side. And once all the glue sets up, we'll come back. I'll provide a quick update, and we'll start getting some of the old veneer off, and also start gluing down some of the veneer that we want to save. Okay, clamps and more clamps, but again, I went on and started working this right front side, left rear. And anyway, got it back together. So again, all the glue cleaned up here that spilled out. We'll let this set up. Okay, you can see the gluing on this side was successful. Again, I was able to get that piece of plywood that delaminated here back down to the substrate. Again, that attached here to the quarter round piece. So what I'm going to work on now is the top, and of course I've got this side here done as well, so the bottom's attached. But I need to see if I can get a little glue down in these areas, this area, and then along the very front where it attaches here. So I've got a small gap in here. I think I can work some glue back in there. Then you can see where, if this is showing up on camera, the cabinet's just a little out of round. It's pointed down toward the centerpiece, and it may have been that way all along, but I'm going to try to force this back up just a bit when I clamp it, and see if we can square it up better. If these end up being sloped in, no big deal. It gives the radio some personality. Okay guys, what I hope to be the final clamping positions here. So again, I was able to get some glue there between the front piece and the top, and along all these locations as well, using my needle and forcing some glue down in there, and then taking my forced air and trying to force some of the glue further back into the joint. So we'll see. Again, this top piece I think is not going to be perfectly square, but it is what it is. So I think it'll be just fine. Okay guys, I've got the clamps removed here again after about the third or fourth time clamping, and I've got the front piece here attached to the top. And again, these little side pieces, the top itself is not quite flat, but anyway, that'll give it some nice character. I do have a gap now. Again, here you can see where these areas were routed, so an old shop trick here, I'm going to use a toothpick or two and drive them down in these voids with a little glue, and then I'll get them down there as far as I can, and then we'll cut them off flush just to kind of build up those areas in there where we have those voids. That'll create a nice or more stable platform here for the cabinet. Looks like I'm going to be able to get this toothpick in there just about the entire distance. Alright, we'll clean that up. Let me go back on this side and see if I can get one down in this area as well. Okay, I think that's about as far as I'm going to get with that one. I'm going to just cut that off flush, and then we'll sand it later. And then I may put a clamp back on here just for a bit and see if I can, again, flatten out or level up the top piece a little bit. If I can't, no big deal. Again, it adds some character here to this 80+ year radio. Okay, and one more spot here, since we've got that toothpick in there. Just get a little glue down in this one little small crack here that opened up. Try to fill some of that void as well. That actually may be big enough for a toothpick in that area too. Let me just try one, see if I can get it in that void. Okay, I think we're good now. Again, this piece of plywood here was delaminated as well, starting to come loose here from the substrate. So I'll pull it back here and you can see what I'm talking about. Again, just wedge some glue in there. So I want to go ahead and put another clamp here with some wax paper, clamp this down. And I think we're good on the gluing for now. And again, I'll be stripping the cabinet. I'm going to try to be cautious with the lacquer thinner and use as little as possible. Typically I'll just get in and saturate the cabinet, but here there's very little finish on here anyway, so a little 4-aught steel wool and a toothbrush, and should be able to get this off fairly easy, again assuming it is lacquer, and that's what it appears to be. Okay, 3 toothpicks in this area, and it really flattened things out, built those areas up, and I was able to get one down in here, or maybe it was 2, and I've got one over here on this side as well. So I've got this side clamped down right now. Again, that's because of the piece of plywood here was delaminated, so we'll let that set up. But I think that helped fill some of these voids and should create some stability here for the top of the cabinet as well. Okay guys, we'll continue to leave these clamps on these areas at the top that I worked on, in the back here where I just placed those toothpicks in, and now let's start on this veneer. This is, again, you can see the right front, and I want to try to save this veneer. So again, I'm going to just place a little bit of hide glue here on the plastic, try to get underneath it, force it back down, and do the same up here. We'll put some clamps on it, and we'll look at the results in a bit. Okay guys, I want to continue to put a little bit of water on this veneer and see if I can get it to soften up here. It's really brittle, and I want to have maybe a little water go back underneath the veneer, back into the hide glue, and I may just throw the old iron on here and try to iron this flat in this area, see what happens, and then follow up by doing some clamping. I'm just trying to get these pieces to lay back down. It seems like in this area right here something's underneath the substrate just a bit, and it's got this piece of veneer bowed out, so we'll have to live with that because there's no fixing that. And let me just see if I can get these other areas here to come together. Okay, I'll try to zoom in here just a bit, but what I'm trying to do is, again, wet down the veneer here enough. I'm trying to soften it up and get it to lay flat back down in this area. Again, we can build it back up just a little bit, and it's a rather thick veneer, so there'll be some forgiveness here for sanding as well. Yeah, starting to go back together fairly good. Let me continue to kind of wet this back down. So again, I've got these boards here, some wax paper down, more clamps, and more clamps. So let's let this dry for a bit. We'll come back and see if we're able to get this veneer to lay down. Okay, while the glue here continues to set up on that front piece, I'm going to go ahead and use my X-Acto knife here and try to remove this other veneer right here on the edge. It's pretty much already flake loose. I don't think it's going to be difficult to break it loose. Again, this is the section here that I said I would just go ahead and replace, because I've got this section over here as well that's missing. So make it easy to somewhat match the two top pieces here. So I'll go ahead and continue to get this removed here. And again, that gives me some beautiful veneer pieces here if we need them. Anything else chips off here on the areas that I'm trying to save, we'll use these pieces of wood veneer here to make the repairs. So substrate looks good in this area. Fairly flat. I'll clean it up just a little bit. Again, you don't want to sand the substrate down real fine before applying your veneer. You need something that it will bite into. So this is already roughed up. I'll just clean it up a little bit and just make sure it's as flat as possible. We don't have any bumps or anything. So we'll get this section done and this section here ready. And again, I think we're at a stopping point. As soon as the glue for the veneer repairs here dry, I'm going to check all the other areas and make sure that they're nice and tight, or as good as they can be. And after everything sets up for 24 hours, I'll grab the lacquer thinner and go strip the cabinet down. Then come back in and make any other little small repairs again, where any veneer or something loosens up again after doing the stripping. Folks, thanks for watching the second video on the cabinet, and we'll pick back up again within a day or two. Thanks again for watching.